Welcome back to the Rhonda Swan Show. Today is actually pretty exciting because all day today, this is my final day filming in my studio here in Bali. We're going to have a new studio very soon. But today's guest I have brought on for this grand finale day of filming. And you are going to love this woman. I tell you, she is going to bring so much heat and energy to your brand. And her name is Jennifer Longmore. She's actually the CEO of the Podcast Connector, which I'm so excited to share all of you about her company, because she's not only connecting visionaries and new thought leaders with aligned podcasts, and she's also a 10-time best-selling author and sought-after media personality. Jennifer is also a serial entrepreneur, investor, board advisor to various conscious apps in her spare time. Like, she's got much spare time. She runs Soul Journeys, the training school for Akashic Records. Now, while Soul's Journeys is also a part of her immediate life purpose, the other part is to share her abundance with those who are in need with causes, and Jennifer's so passionate about. And a portion of all the profits for her company go directly to supporting the Gentle Barn, Kiva, David Suzuki Foundation, World Wildlife Fund, Women for Women International, and other charities that serve to make this world a better place. I love your mission, sister. Podcasts are where it's at. So great to have you on the show.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. Well, you're going to make up for, you're so animated and I'm like, hi everyone. And the colors assessment, I'm the green, right? I'm cool, calm, and collected. And you're just like bringing the energy.
I'm the red. Yeah, you're the green, but that's good. That's where the balance comes in, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But I love it too, because whenever, we have like extremely dynamic guests that really know their work, it doesn't matter where the personality's at, right? Sister, it's all about knowing what you know. And you certainly, know your stuff. And so why don't we talk about what's some stuff that we have in common, right? We both have accidents that actually changed the way we looked at our life. I'd like to dig into that. Can you share about this pivotal moment and how it relates to where you are today within podcasting, business, and spirituality? Because I really want to get like in behind before we like go out in the front and do all the shiny things that you do.
Okay. How much woo do you want me to bring?
Hey, we're all about the woo. We balance the woo with reality, because of course we're living in this 3D world, and without the woo, we can't manifest. So I'm certainly into the woo.
Okay. It's funny. I was just talking with someone about it the other day, because that day that I had my accident was the most bizarre day. I think we can all relate. That restless feeling you get when you feel like, should I leave my house? Should I stay home? Totally. I feel like I want to go here, but something's not letting me. There was just this weird dance I was doing. And of course, back then I was a workaholic. I was plowing through. I was in university. I was studying to be a forensic investigator, which I know is a totally crazy, like totally different path. Wow. But I just didn't have time to wait around for these nudges, right? Like, I've got to get on the highway. I've got to go to my job. And I got sideswiped by a van, and he felt mortified. Other people actually chased him down because they were upset on my behalf, because it was a really messy car accident. And so I get picked up by a tow truck company. I was given a rental car, and I'm driving over this really big bridge near where I was living, which was Niagara Falls. And it was so windy that they had to close down the bridge. And I was the last car to pass the bridge before I honestly thought the wind was going to pick up the car and float it into the lake because it was so windy. And then I get onto a different road, and it's a snowstorm, like one of those snowstorms that when your high beams or when your lights are hitting it, you're like, are those my high beams, or are those is that a car approaching me? And I had 30 minutes on that road. Like, there was nothing I could do but just trust. Yeah. But that's the beauty of it, because the whole time from the moment my car got hit and I actually realized, I'm still alive. I shouldn't have driven, but I was in shock, drove home because I've got to get to my job. And, but I had no choice but to pray and surrender. Like, what was my other option? And I literally drove through white light for 30 minutes, right? Like, how profound is that? And of course, at the time I was irritated. I was like, I do not have time for this. Right. This is unacceptable. This is, infringing on my on my style. And, but I had some pretty significant injuries. My mom agreed to do Reiki with a friend and do an exchange because of course I was the starving student essentially. Right. And Reiki, I like to joke, is like the gateway drug for healers, right? It's like it opens you up to the thing. So I had all this intuitive stuff. My whole family was very intuitive, but the energy piece kind of bridged both worlds for me. So I had language finally for all of this stuff that had been happening for me. And that's kind of how it unfolded. And then very soon after that, I ended up going for my Reiki mastery. And, but I didn't know you could run a business doing that. So people kept saying, are you going to do it? I'm like, well, who's going to hire me? Nobody's hiring people to do Reiki, not realizing I could create my own reality. And I was working forensics at the time. I actually loved what I did and it prepared me for this, right? Like I know a lot about human psychology at this point. But I thought, oh my goodness, if I have to work 16 to 20 hour days for the rest of my life, rarely sleeping because I'm always worried, you know, did I forget something? And then on top of that, having massive adrenal fatigue. People like to make fun of cops and stuff. It's like, of course, people are eating tons of sugar and drinking lots of coffee. They need surrogate or, you know, like they need to have this mock like adrenaline replacement. I was living for the weekends. I'd wake up Monday morning going, oh, can I call in sick today? Is it going to be more hassle than what it's worth? And I just thought, I can't live just above or just below the poverty line, essentially, right? Just having enough to pay bills or not quite having enough to pay bills. And I can't live for the weekends anymore. If I have to do this for another 40 years, this is just not living at all. So it was really by necessity. And I took the risk because I really didn't know. Right. And then I started going to networking events just to see what these aliens were speaking about. It really felt like an alien language. I did not understand entrepreneurship at all. It's like, what do you mean you get up at 11 and you don't see clients until 1? What? I just did not understand the lingo. I didn't understand the lifestyle. And I started meeting people like me, realizing, oh, like you actually are providing for yourself. This is possible for me. So I eventually took the leap. I was pretty resistant, of course. I was hoping that a client attraction stork would just drop these clients off at my doorstep and come back in an hour and pick them up. And I'd have to do no marketing, maybe hand out the occasional business card because yes, I've been in business for that long, pre-social media. And that didn't happen, which was very disappointing. I actually had to do some stuff. But I think that helped, right? For those of us that have had the chance to build a business before social media, we've learned some pretty sound business practices that are timeless. When trends come and go, when tactics come and go, when dancing like this for 90 minutes or 90 seconds on a reel with little bubbles, right? When that disappears, and at some point it will, these timeless business practices are what is going to, you know, take us through.
Yeah, you know, thanks for sharing that because it's interesting, you know, how these type of things that happen for us, right? It's like I always say, let me go into the woo spot, right? Because like I just had a literally near-death experience last year, and my biggest, you know, download of what I needed to do came in that moment of complete surrender. Right? Like, because I was doing the same thing. And it's like, we find ourselves, and we see this a lot with women, especially, you know, entrepreneurs. You know, I also was a recovering corporate, and you don't even realize what you do with your life for someone else. Right? Like you were literally driving and needing to get somewhere because you had jobs and you had to do your commitments. And I love these moments. And that's why I always love bringing them in because, you know, it allows others to see that it's okay. Like some are heavy on the woo and they're like, I didn't even know how I could get into this. I was heavy on the business, right? I was fighting the woo until I went, wait, you know, and then that's when things start to unfold. And so let's talk about that. Let's talk about how did you blend? How do you blend now? You went into entrepreneurialism. How did you blend the, you know, the woo or the conscious side, that intuitive side, to what now you do and how you navigate business on a daily basis?
That's a great question. And I hear you. I just did an interview last week and I started kind of crying on the interview, and I've never done that, but I was recalling a case that I had, right? And it just, this visceral thing came up, and she's like, don't worry, it's going to, you know, people will find you relatable. And I do get that, right? We want to feel like we're not just listening to people, you know, run to the back of the room and kind of spouting some stuff, right? I think, I've made a lot of money with my intuition because of how it's helped me make decisions. And I also have people consult with me to get intuitive guidance, right? And very high level, similar to you, the same type of clientele you serve. And we all just need a sounding board. We all need someone to see the stuff that we're too close to. We need this. Yeah. We need someone to help us with the stuff that we don't really want to be clear on because of what it's going to require of us, right? Like we want the outcome, but we don't always want to walk through the path of what's required to do that. Right. So, and I don't do it for the money. Actually, I made a lot of money because I never focused on the money. That's the funny thing. Yep. My first year in business, I made 6 figures very quickly without even knowing it. And I went to the bank account and to deposit because I was getting paid cash a lot, right? And I saw the balance because I just never looked money in the eyes. Money scared me. And I deposited this amount and she handed me the printout and I was like, what? I was astounded. And I gulped and I did what most people do when they make more money than they know what to do with, is I had to really make it, like I had to learn how to hold money. My temptation was to treat it like a hot potato. Yeah. Because I was used to living just above or just below my monthly income, right? Yep. Never being able to pay off my credit cards. I just didn't know what to do with it. And that was the opportunity for me. Now, little did I know that was going to start to inform all of the money coaching that I do with people, because, and I found out actually just a few years ago that that's in my astrology chart, that I'm here to help uplift wealth consciousness. Well, hello, makes total sense, right? All of the times I was guided towards teaching about money or getting into real estate. And I think I'm just a woo-woo person. What is this? This doesn't make any sense. But to answer your question about how I bridged it, I don't know that I did. What happened was I just thought I was going to go on my merry way doing readings and teaching other people how to do it for years. I was so happy doing what I did. I loved it. But people started coming to me saying, hey, you've got this successful feely business and I want to have one. Can you show me? And I'm like, I guess I could, maybe, possibly. And then more people started to come. And I thought, well, I can't have 55 people in my coaching calendar. That's not going to be doable. So I guess I should probably create a course, right? What do I keep saying to the same people? Little tip for any of you that haven't created a course yet, right? Like, what am I probably going to say to every single client that comes to me? It's just one of those repeatable things that everyone seems to need to hear, and then build out something from that. And then it just kind of snowballed. And so all of this intuitive stuff I was doing, I had all these business folks, and I realized the two actually go hand in hand. And even just for me, I really like it when my left brain gets engaged. If anything, I was not intentionally, I was just way too much in my right brain. I was still in my body, but I really appreciated being able to be strategic and problem solve and do things that I wasn't doing so much when I was channeling and, doing readings and teachings. And so that's kind of how it came to be. And then I thought, well, I'm going to try to be immersed with as many different types of businesses as I can. So I purposely, and you and I have talked about this off camera, that I make a point of cross-pollinating with anyone outside of the online space, not because I poo-poo it. I love everyone in it. It's that I want to be surrounded by brick and mortars. I want to be surrounded by agencies, franchisees, all different kinds of people. That allows me to coach people really well now because I really understand various business models. And I kind of I didn't realize I was doing it, but I distill their best practices, right? So when people come to me now and they have a model that's different than mine, I can say, hey, try this. They go and implement it. And sure enough, it works. But I think that keeps your saw sharp because, when you get too much in the tunnel and every business genre, I'll call it, has their own jargon, like the online space has a lot of jargon. And that's only going to get us so far, right? So that's kind of the Cole's Notes version.
No, but so a couple of things. Like I feel like you brought the practicality, the woo into the practicality, right? Of like really getting the structures. And I think that's where so many people get stuck, right? We've got super spiritual people that are trying to be business owners, and they're so, I always say they're like, they're all like waiting for the flow to happen, right? Or we've got like the super rigid, right, control freaks. It's like actually it's really a balance, right? It's just being grounded and knowing where you are. And the fact that you step into different industries, I love having the grit, the brick and mortars, the sweat equity businesses around you, because those are the ones that really put it in. Like I was in the online space 18 years ago, and it was like, wow, this is that easy. I can just do a video and all of a sudden people buy stuff from me. It's like blew my mind. But when you're around the brick and mortar businesses that really get it, yeah, you get to really see what it takes to really build a business. And then I think that has helped me help others grow on their online business, because they really don't always have all the same structures that we would, when you're running a company with employees and, and strategies and structures. So I really appreciate that about you. So let's talk then about your company. Let's talk about podcasting, right? I mean, like I know this is like the 10th business or something you bought. So we're not just talking about podcasting today. This woman is so diverse in not only her investments, the companies she buys. Like we have these conversations and Jen's like, oh yeah, this is another company I acquired, has bought that one. I'm like, okay, right? Like this is the real grit of like what it takes to be a real, boss lady, if you will, or, woman that just knows what she wants and goes after it. But I do love this, the podcasting company that you've just recently bought and, really developing. So it's changed a lot, right? It's changed for so many businesses, especially those, just being able to connect over like hyper specific topics, right? In kind of this long form, format. We're here having a chat. We get to know about you. But what do you think has surprised you the most about bringing in thought leaders, visionaries, and allowing them to really maximize their potential utilizing podcasts?
Yeah, I wasn't, my poor husband, right? I woke up that morning having no idea. We all have those days, right? Where we think it's just going to be a pretty, typical day, I guess, whatever that means.
Never.
And this dropped in my lap. And then at the end of the night, I said to my husband, oh, by the way, I bought a company today. And he was like, because I'm the person, you and I are cut from the same cloth. Like people will say to me, I didn't know you were doing that. Well, no, you're going to find out after I've done it. I'm not a talker. I'm just going to go and make things happen. And that's who I like to coach. But yeah, it's funny because I used to pitch myself like crazy. I was opening all my own doors. Well, the doors that would open, of course, way back in the day, getting, expert columns and getting on tons of stages and radio shows. I've hosted my own radio shows. I have my own podcast now. And I don't even view myself as someone who's like a media personality per se, or whatever we would call that. But I have learned a lot about pitching. And I've learned, I really know, this too, right? Like when you're a host, you get a ton of pitches, and most of them, I want to go, can I help you with that?
Why do you think I would say yes?
Here's what would have helped me say yes to you.
Yeah.
I really want to say yes, and you've made it really hard for me to say yes to you. So I've learned a lot just from being a host, right? It was through that I actually learned how to pitch really well, because I started paying attention to what were the pitches I was instantly guided to say yes to, and which were the ones that I thought, I don't think this is going to work. Never viewed myself as being someone that would help other people broker that. And yet I'm a natural connector. It's just one of my archetypes, just like you. I can't help it. I love connecting people. Just love it. I'm always thinking, who needs to know this person? Oh, you told me this. Oh, I've got to keep that in my brain because someone probably needs to know that and meet you and whatever. So it's it really is weirdly in my wheelhouse. I've done a lot of major media, as you know, and so I get it from both sides. And I'm actually running the company as though I'm a customer. I actually was a customer of the Podcast Connector before I bought it. And incidentally, a few years ago, I was working with a different company because the Podcast Connector didn't exist then. And I found out that the two business partners, one of them bought the other one out. And I remember being disappointed at that time. I didn't even know there was an option to buy into the company, or else I would have just bought it off them. And I don't know, I can't tell you why I would have done that. I just remember the visceral thing. And her and I are in chats right now about me acquiring her company as well, because why not? But I smile because it's not like I necessarily have time for these things. But to your point of what you mentioned before, I in part do these things. I stretch myself out of my comfort zone for me, because I know the growth that it brings me. And I like growing. I think any of us that have a natural growth mindset just can't help but want to stretch. but I also do it for my clients. Like I really want people to benefit from me stretching. And I think you can only fly as high as the plane that's flying.
That's it.
And I like to fly really high. I really do. I like being in the air. Like I, have been in a hot air balloon crash. And my husband's like, you'd go on another hot air balloon. I'm like, of course I would. Why wouldn't I do that? Right. Like I love being high. And that sounded bad. I don't like being like stoned high. I like being high.
Fly high.
In an elevator. Let me clarify. I am not high right now. Can't believe I'm saying this.
I love it.
Anyways,
no, yeah.
I have learned that the industry standard for the ratio of pitch to booked is 8%. And already with me coming into the company, it was an average of 24%. We've now got that up to 45%. And my goal is to get that even higher. I mean, 45% is great. That doesn't affect you anyways. If you're a client, you don't really need to know how often you're being pitched. You just care about being booked. That's why we guarantee it, because I have worked with PR companies that are like, oh, I'll pitch you once for $5K a month retainer. Okay, you're pitching me once a week? No, I'm going to pitch you once. Oh, so I get to pay you $60K to pitch me once, right? What is happening? When people can guarantee that stuff, it's so much easier to breathe and to settle into the relationship, because you're not wondering if you're just throwing money at something that's never going to happen, right? It's my job to know how to book you. It's not your job. And it's also not your job to field the ghosting and the weird emails and the back and forth and stuff. That's my job.
Yeah.
So you don't have to get deflated. You can still be motivated to get on podcasts and not have to, and not that happens a lot, but you just want to be able to show up on shows that are excited to have you on.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, being in PR and in pitching and publishing, that's the thing. People always goes, oh, is this earned media or is this, paid media? I'm like, first off, no matter what, you're going to pay someone to do the work for you. You either have the time and you want to deal with it, or you're going to allow us to guarantee that we can do it. And I think that alone, I mean, podcasts right now are, one of the hottest ways for you to share your message, right? Like I love PR. We do a lot of digital, publications and news, etc. But podcasts, why do you think podcasts? I want people to hear.
I will tell you.
Yeah.
I will tell you. I just, with one of my companies, I average anywhere between $500K to $1 million a year just from podcast guesting, meaning I have people immediately contact me from podcasts saying, hey, I want to work with you. I want to step into these things. Not to mention the invitations I get onto other podcasts. And we're not talking about podcasts, by the way, that have like 1,000 listeners. We're talking about hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, if not more, of hundreds of thousands, I should say, of impressions, right? These are highly engaged podcasts with serious podcast hosts that are motivated to grow it. They have an audience that is used to, having guests on. They know how to host, like that caliber of podcast. But anyways, it's naturally going to open other doors. Media, various forms of media can find you. Other hosts find you, summits, in-person speaking gigs, and so on. It's great for if you have a book or any kind of product that you want to shop around and just kind of do a blitz. And on top of that, you're developing a skill, which is learning how to speak really succinctly and really figure out how to be a good guest, which means helping the host look great, making sure you're adding value to the audience, and making sure that you are shining your genius in the highest light possible, right? There's a lot going on when you're guesting, but when you can do it right, there's a lot of amazing things that can happen. And then for you, Rhonda, makes your life easier when someone has already built up some assets, right? And they've learned how to speak and they've kind of honed their story and they understand what anecdotes to bring to the interview, maybe what case studies to sort of seed in there, have a freebie that's evergreen that when you call it out, it's very easy for people to remember, and all the other things.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. It's like, if people really realize like the power, because our hosts, we're always looking for, guests. We've got audiences that are craving content. And, being a prepared guest, I think that is one of our biggest, right? I have to really discern between who we bring on because we have millions of people that are watching, and we want them to get the bang for the buck that they really came there for. But I think that's where the value comes from, is having someone show you exactly and teach you how to be an epic guest. The moment I learned that, it was like, people constantly, and I have to go, oh, I just don't have time. I really can't make that. And I'm like, yes, I'm coming onto that, right? So when you get to yourself to a point where you nail it and people know you're going to nail it, they want you. And that right there alone, and I know in the services you guys provide in Podcast Connector, you teach them how to do it, you give them the skill, you help them create an outline, and then you do the work for them so that they can look like a rock star. Can you tell everyone how they can find Podcast Connector? Because your company is our preferred recommendation. Any of our clients, in fact, I was thinking, I'm like, the next books are coming out, Wealth and Intuition, next year in 2023. I'm like, okay, we're just going to start getting Jen on the horn, nailing down, all these other podcasts, because I focus in PR, mainly in digital and news and print, but I don't necessarily focus on podcasts. However, it's one of the best ways to penetrate and get in front of an audience so quickly. So tell them how they find you, what are some of your steps that you guys take, and how can they be part of this magical world of Podcast Connector?
All right. So if you go to thepodcastconnector.com/apply, you'll get to speak with one of our agents. They're going to see how we can serve you, right? And make sure. We never want to take anyone on if we don't feel that we can be useful. So we're first going to get really clear on how can we help you get your amazing message out. And then if you choose to step in, we're going to get you a press release. We're going to get you a one sheet. We're going to get on the phone with you, find the angle. We're going to get you booked on a ton of things. You don't have to see any of those emails. You don't have to worry. You get on with your day, focusing on all your high dividend things. And we'll focus on this. And you're going to hear from us when we have bookings. And we guarantee our bookings. We don't just pitch you. We guarantee them. So however many you invest in, that's how many you're going to get. We usually go above and beyond anyways with other invitations that come up, but we really want to roll out the red carpet for you. And I'll just say that in a post-2020 world, we really need way, way more leaders out there with their message. There's just so much work to do.
I love it. I love even you had told me before, you guys create a one sheet. You not only do the press release one sheet, you really give them and prepare them the ammunition they need to not only say yes, but then also they have what they need if they're even pitching themselves or meeting someone else. This is real-time work for any type of business owner that has someone on their back pocket. They have a VIP support system behind their message. And I just love what you guys do, Jen. I really do. And I'm super excited to learn more. I know we've got a lot of clients who are going to come find you. We're going to start really sharing this out, because I'm telling everyone right now, the end of the year, if you do anything, start getting yourself on podcasts through the end of the year into the new year. The close of the year is the most vital point. Everyone takes time off. Imagine the amount of podcast hosts are going to have so many spots open, and they want real messages. They want someone that's got something to not only share value, but guess what? To also offer a service to solve their problem. That's why we're doing podcasts. Nail the end of your year. So people are going, oh my gosh, that's my person, because there's going to be less noise in the marketplace. And when you crack on in the new year, now they're like, dude, that's the person I need. And so this is what I love about your work. I love Podcast Connector. Thank you so much for being here, sister, doing the work that you do, expansion, and just the knowledge that you bring is so well received.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. I'm so excited that we get to do this together.
I know, it's so good. And I'm really excited about what is next to come. Is there anything last you want to say to everyone before you go?
Just really reminding you that your message is needed. No matter how much you think it's already been shared or whatever, it hasn't been shared by you. So please get your message out there.
Yeah, I love it. Thanks again, Jen. Look forward to seeing you somewhere floating around at an event somewhere. I'm sticking around in Bali for the next couple of months to take a little break myself. And I'm going to be guests on everyone else's show. I'm like, okay, if this is my last day of filming for November and December, I'm calling it out. I want to be on your show.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Thanks again, Jen. Everyone, thank you so much for being here. Remember how important your message is. It's time to share it. Not only just your message, but also what you can do for others. And that's where Podcast Connector is going to come in and help you get booked. Look forward to seeing you guys on the next show. Don't forget to be unstoppable and stay wild. See you in the next episode.